Cheaters in Siege today are more prevalent than ever before. Their win rates are higher than they've ever been, BattlEye bans are at an all-time low, and Ubisoft has never been more embarrassed about it. They've actually been accused of banning fake accounts to make it seem like their anti-cheat is working when it's really not. Even in professional play, or semi-professional play, people have been caught cheating multiple times, or admitted to cheating many seasons later after they've retired, which is why Rainbow Six Siege has a cheating problem. Quick disclaimer, I do not condone the use or purchase of any cheats whatsoever or zimming on console. If you do either, you are the scum of the earth and I really hope you get banned. Disclaimer aside, to look at how much people are cheating in the game today, we have to look at the history of cheaters used to have years ago. At the end of this video, check out a next video where I talk about that. But to sum it up, cheaters for this game have actually existed just since little after the game's release. On the game's release, you immediately saw the use of more common cheats like wall hacks, aimbot, spin botting, and speed hacks, which is pretty common for a game's release, at least to a certain extent. But because Siege's anti-cheat is so bad in particular, and today its game engine is so old, it's become more and more common that we've seen more unique cheats for the game itself. Now, why is this? Well, the truth of the matter is, like I said, Siege is an old game, around 9 years old to be exact. This might not seem that old, but if you look at the progression of video games just in the past 5 years, 2 years, or even 1 year, 9 years seems like a lifetime for any video game. The reason this is significant is because the older the software is for a game engine, the more time people have to get used to its ins and outs for it to cheat for that game engine, making it easier to code cheats for. Not only this, but BattlEye, the anti-cheat used in Siege, is not only an old anti-cheat as well, but it's also commonly used in other games, which means that cheat developers have a much easier time getting a hold of it, coding it because they have it in relation to other games, getting around it, and selling it to others. With the ingredients of Siege's old game engine and its common anti-cheat, it's the perfect recipe for cheating to begin in Siege and multiply quickly. The more easy it is to make cheats for a game like Rainbow Six Siege, the more common those cheats are. The more common those cheats are, the less cheat developers can sell the cheats for. This is basic economics. The cheaper the cheats are, the more common the cheats are in the game because more people are able to afford them, buy them, install them, and use them in Siege. Ubisoft developers actually tried to tackle this issue specifically, which was pretty smart, by making cheats more expensive in their own way. But as you can probably tell by queuing up one single ranked game, that shit didn't work at all. Now, most people would assume that Ubisoft hasn't tried enough to get rid of the cheater situation in Siege. This has gone so far as to most streamers actually going to the reveal of the next season just to see if they do anything about cheaters or announce anything in general. It's that bad, but that actually couldn't be further from the truth. Rainbow Six Siege's developers at Ubisoft are actually some of the biggest pioneers for good anti-cheat methods, which I know might sound like a joke, but hear me out. They've introduced AI machine learning as of this season to see if even that would work, which a lot of games haven't tried because they've tried so many different things that they had to resort to that. They've tried fixing it a bit in Operation Health and various other seasons. They regularly update their game and their cheater detection. They manually ban people. They IP ban people. They do ban waves. They have a cheater report system, a match replay system for getting match IDs to manually tell Ubisoft about certain players if you want to. They even made it more difficult to zim on console by introducing Mousetrap, and they're talking about in the future migrating Mousetrap players into PC lobbies, which is crazy. So Ubisoft is definitely trying here, but obviously it just isn't enough. The issue being that just like Ubisoft can update their software to counter cheaters, cheat developers can just update their cheat software to counter their counter update for the game. These kind of back and forth updates happen almost monthly after the release of Siege's new updates, even weekly, and in some cases on a day-to-day basis, with cheat developers coming out with a patch for the updated season in the next day, especially in the console scene. It's even quicker over there. Not only this, but Ubisoft can't legally ban people who are zimming because they have a contract and contracting issues. So banning people on PC for cheating is even harder as well because they have contracting issues and they need concrete proof to actually ban people. With this in mind, Ubisoft can't really do anything, to be completely honest. They can't. This has become so apparent that it's made people cheat even more because they know they're not going to get caught. There's so many cheaters in the game, in fact, that a fifth of the cheaters right now, according to my super trustworthy and totally not made up estimates, have cheats installed just in case they go against a cheater, so they can level the playing field because of just how common cheating is. So you might be thinking that Ubisoft isn't doing anything about it. They are. They just can't actually make a difference, no matter how hard they try. But how common is cheating in Siege exactly? Well, to test this, I streamed live on Twitch, twitch.tv/AlkaFBS, shameless plug, to see out of 7 games on stream how many cheaters I would get. Now, after the test, I didn't get 1. I didn't get just 2. I didn't even just get 3. I didn't get only 5. I got a whopping 10. 10 cheaters in 7 games. That means there were multiple cheaters in at least one game, to be exact. Game 1 had 1 cheater. Games 2 and 3 had 1 cheater as well. Game 4 had 2 cheaters, 1 on each team, the second of which on my team only cheated after the first guy on the enemy team started going full blatant when he rage toggled. Game 5 had no cheaters, pretty big surprise actually, which is a really bad sign. Game 6 had 1 cheater, and Game 7 had 4 cheaters. 4 in one game with 10 people in a game lobby. That is 40% of the lobby that had cheats. And these weren't closeted cheaters who only had walls and we couldn't really have proof they were cheating. No. These cheaters were blatant. Shooting through floors, shooting through walls with wall hacks, sometimes even had soft aimbot, scripts, speed hacks, you name it. Some people could even shoot through the map itself, through unbreachable surfaces and reinforced walls. It was insane. Now, I will say that was by far the worst I've ever seen in a ranked session, and I use that example to kind of exaggerate my point, but most streams I played 7 to 8 games of ranked, 40% of them have a cheater in them. 50% of those are full blatant, leaving 20% of my games with blatant cheaters, which is a lot more of a friendly statistic, but make no mistake, that's still fucking awful. Like, most games don't have nearly 20%, never mind 20% itself or above. And again, those are just blatant cheaters. Imagine the ones we don't know about. The ones that closet so well that only toggle if they need to, or people that have them installed but barely use the cheats, or only use them against actual cheaters. We're talking about almost double the amount of cheaters that I've said so far in this video. With these calculations in mind, however scuffed they may be, specifically in champion PC lobbies by the way, the average ranked game has about a 40-50% chance of getting a cheater in it. Again, this is just in champ. We've even talked about all the amount of cheaters in other ranks, which sounds like it surely can't be right. Like, that has to be an over-exaggeration, right? But unfortunately, that is correct. Now, even after my entire speech on how the game is built, or my own in-game experiment, some people watching this video or in the comments will still doubt me, which I get it, that's a big number. So I asked you, the Siege community on my Twitter, what the chances you thought were that you'd run into a cheater in your ranked games. And the results? At the time of this recording, I had 30% of people that said 50 to 75% chance that they thought that they get a cheater in their game. Now that, by the way, is an even bigger number than I said. That's right, the Siege community's estimates are even higher than mine. Like I said, everyone's complaining about it on Twitter, so I know most people feel what I'm saying here, but if you don't, there's your proof. Like I said, I'm lowballing it, right? Even people have higher ones than I do. I have a low actual take. This is concrete proof that the cheater problem in Siege is way out of hand. With that in mind, though, instead of just complaining about the problem, like all of Twitter can't seem to stop doing, don't do that by the way, let's think of a solution. Well, the simple solution would be to make a Siege 2, right? Now, I say simple, but anyone who knows anything about coding would know that it's not actually simple at all, so jokes aside. Why is making Siege 2 such a great idea, and how would it at all help solve the cheater issue? Well, if Ubisoft made a Siege 2, it would have an up-to-date game engine, because they'd be making a game in 2024. Actually, it would have an above-average game engine, because of how recent they'd be making the game. Not only that, but if they're going to take the liberty of creating a game engine, or using a good existing one that's current to make an entire new game, they could also use Siege 2 as a way to roll out Siege's own dedicated anti-cheat that they can make, which would make it even 30 times harder for cheaters in Siege as well. They could also find a better anti-cheat instead of making one for monetary purposes, but that's besides the point. The only issue with this, even if they found a game engine and didn't make one, or if they found a new anti-cheat and didn't make one, is that it would take millions of dollars, and if they made their own, it would probably even take hundreds of millions of dollars to do. That might actually sound expensive, and it might sound like I'm exaggerating it, but like with my previous examples, I promise you I'm not. Let's get a good example. GTA 6. Rockstar spent over $2 billion and still counting making GTA 6. It's not even out yet. They're still spending money. 100 million sounds pretty fair when you compare it to that, especially from a game developing studio like Ubisoft and how big it is and how much money that they probably have. If they don't want to spend that much money, another solution would be to update their current game engine, or to just get a new anti-cheat with their current game. Here's the issue with that. Updating a game engine would be a lot like putting in a new engine into a car. It's the same price as just getting a new car, and it's unnecessarily hard to do for the average person, so most people end up just getting a new car. This is the same thing with a game engine and a new game. It's unnecessarily hard to make a new game engine if you want to implement it in your new game, and it's just as expensive as just making a new game entirely. So most people just make a second game instead of just redoing their game engine, kind of like Overwatch 2 or CS2. At that point, they might as well just make a Siege 2. Getting a new anti-cheat has those same problems too, to a lesser extent, but then you have to factor in, like I said earlier, the contracting, the licensing, the bureaucratic lawyer BS agreements that come in with getting a new anti-cheat, and you can begin to see why they haven't taken that route either. So if this is such a bad problem with no clear solution in sight that at least doesn't cost millions of dollars, then what is there to do? Not surprisingly, most people's solution is to complain on Twitter. That never actually helps, as the devs can't actually do anything with that, with your comments, so just don't do that. Because of previous issues I mentioned too, they just can't do anything. One thing I also want to highlight in this video, a little side note, is that game developers, or devs as most people call them, have zero say at all as to what actually gets changed in the games. Most people think game devs are the ones that are changing the games, but they're not. All they do is they change it based off of what the guys in suits, their bosses, are telling them to do. So if someone with a lot of power in the gaming industry says, hey, I want Oryx to be nerfed, the actual coders, the game developers, aren't the ones making that decision, they're just the ones executing it because they want a paycheck. So before you ever complain about Ubisoft devs, or any devs for any game for that matter, making a bad balancing change, they're not even the ones making those changes. You're literally just like talking into the void. The only way that this can get changed, Siege specifically, is if the community unifies in a cry for help and a cry for change, which I know sounds sad and probably won't work, but it's the only thing we, as the viewer, can do. What that change should be, in my opinion, is Siege 2, which is something that they've even actually hinted at maybe doing in the future, but you get the idea. If anyone actually has any better suggestions, though, I actually want you to leave it in the comments, because I'm not actually the most well-versed person when it comes to game development and things of that nature, so if anyone that knows more than me wants to say something, please. I'm curious as to what you have to say. Now, if you're somebody that doesn't actually play Siege, or you just watch people play Siege and you don't really know the extent of the cheater problem, I just quickly want to go over that for you just so you can grasp the idea of what people are having to deal with. So we've talked about the amount that people are cheating, right? 50%, 40%, whatever you want to say. Some people even voted 75 to 100% on my poll. It's bad. But what cheats are people exactly using? Well, the most common one would obviously be wall hacks, but why is that so bad for Siege? Well, that's specifically bad for Siege because the one way that we can counter people who are wall hacking is with utility. That's what makes Siege different and unique, is that you can use a utility to outplay people instead of just using guns. But now, wall hacks have it to where they can also see utility, so you can't kill them with Kapkan traps, Legion mines, frost mats. If you have a Valkyrie camera that you want to use for a nitro, you can't do that either. You can't play pulse. They know about literally everything, so you can't do any of that. The only thing you can really do is use your shield, but even then, sometimes they can shoot through fucking shields, or they can run a shield and shoot while they have their shield up. People get creative. Not only this, but like I said again, people can just get banned and then make a new account, so you can't really make a difference as an individual player. Some other interesting cheats that have come out in the span of Siege being a game is people being able to shoot Maverick holes through reinforced wall. So instead of bringing a Maverick, you can just shoot your gun and open a reinforced wall on attack. Same thing with defense. People also had reload hacks for a short period of time that allowed them to have infinite ammo, an infinite rate that the ammo is coming out of your gun. They can make it to where the actual bullets coming out of your gun make huge holes in the walls. So if Kali shoots one wall, the entire wall is destroyed. Very, very creative stuff. Not to compliment the cheats, I think cheaters and cheats are just the worst things in the world. But it's just kind of like interesting to see how common cheats are and how many specific cheats there are in Siege because of how common it is. It's actually kind of ridiculous. And the worst part about this is because Ubisoft can't do anything, I honestly want to bet that the majority of people who are cheating now are just cheating because they saw someone else cheat and they want to fight back, or they just got inspired because they realize there's no point in getting an elo system in a place where elo doesn't matter because everyone's cheating to get the elo. Not only this, but Ranked 2.0, the new ranking system that they implemented a few seasons ago, makes it even less valuable to earn your rank when you could just cheat for it instead, because if you get a rank, your rank doesn't actually determine your skill anymore. This is because you have hidden MMR. So you could be a copper in a lobby full of coppers, but if all of you are the skill of a champion, you're still pretty much just fighting champions. The rank is just a cool little PNG that you get on top of it. If you're a plat, you're always going to go against people with the hidden MMR of plat. It doesn't matter what rank they are. I'm a champion. I'm in diamond right now at the time of this recording. I usually hit champ by the end of the season. And me, as a diamond, go against bronzes, silvers, even coppers on the daily. But they have the hidden MMR of a champion and the skill of a champion, so they get paired with me. So it just makes it to where getting ranked doesn't actually mean anything if you could defeat the people in champion at the lowest rank of copper. So if ranked doesn't mean anything, and people are getting the highest rank in the game by developing cheats, then there's no incentive to earn it anymore. There's just an incentive to get it, and if the best way you can get it is by cheating, people are just going to do that, which is why Siege ultimately has a cheating problem. Now, like I said earlier, there is a video where I go fully in-depth as to every cheat that has been in Rainbow Six Siege. Obviously, I missed a few, but you get the idea, and that is called the history of cheats in Rainbow Six Siege. That will be linked at the end of this video, so stick to the end to see that and click on it if you want to learn more about that. But that's pretty much it for today's video. My name's Alka. Check out this next video, like I said. Sub the channel down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.